It's time to let your wings out. I'm looking at the two of you as I say this, and I know that, if the message needs to travel further, it will, but it's time to let your wings out. It's time to own, like, your personal alchemy. Like, it's time. It's time. And I get it. I know this message is for me too. I'm real clear as the nudge is coming through. But yeah, I just like my eye just keeps catching her. Like she's like with us and reminding us to spread our wings, to be light, to be love. It's so precious to know who you are at this point in your life. And it's no longer time for you to allow yourself to choose to hide it. 'Cause that's
Mm.
what happens. Give yourself
Mhm.
permission to let all of it show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do we need a grounding?
I mean, I know that we are all grounded, but yes,
Mm.
like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, Myra, would you like to lead us?
Yes, I will lead us. I first just invite you to let the words Anika just spoke resonate or just take root in you. I invite you to calm your spirit. I invite you to rest and relax your body in your chair, or if you're listening and you're in some other space or environment, whatever relaxing your body looks like. You can close your eyes or have a soft gaze. And we'll do a round of breaths. But as you breathe, I invite you to open up your mind to the possibility of whatever it is that's on your heart or that has been in your mind, your spirit, on your heart to create. There's a invitation for us to create more. Our words create, our thoughts create. And sometimes we sit on that because maybe we don't think we have everything we need, or maybe it's not the right time. Maybe someone has said something to discourage us. Maybe we've seen someone else try that very same thing and it didn't work out. And we wait or we hesitate or we play small. And Anika has just reminded us that it is time to let our wings spread. It is time to let our wings out. And you have everything you need. And so, in the spirit of creation, I want us to revisit our breath. Our breath is life, the air in our lungs is spirit. There's creation in our breath. And we'll do 3 deep breaths. And as you inhale, I want you to take in that which you are ready to create. And as you exhale, you'll release anything that is no longer serving you, that is not necessary for this new world that you are creating. And so let's start with the first deep breath in through your nose. Fill your lungs. Invite that creation. Hold the breath at the top. And then with a deep exhale, a sigh, release all the things you've been carrying that are no longer serving you. Exhale, empty your lungs, let it go. And we'll do a second deep inhale through your nose. Fill your lungs with all of the possibility. Hold and release the waste. Release the doubt. Release the fear. Let it go. And one last deep breath, deepest breath that you may have taken all day. Inhale, fill your lungs. All the possibility is there. See the creation happening. Hold. And with a deep sigh, that last release, let it go, let it go, let it go. And I invite you back to this space. You can wiggle your fingers and flutter your eyes open if they were closed. And welcome back.
So
That is
beautiful.
beautiful. Thank you, Myra.
You're welcome.
Ooh, as you were talking, I could hear the planes. I'm assuming that's where Anika is because I know that she is in a flight path. And I was thinking, first, oh, I need to let Anika know that we can hear the planes. And then I thought, how fitting it is that we've let our wings out
Ooh,
and we're hearing the planes in
ooh.
flight. So I would say that that's just the backdrop for the conversation that we are about to enter in, that we're already in. This
Yes.
conversation is for earth angels.
Mm.
Everyone who is listening is an earth angel.
Mm.
So as you are settling in, you're already settled into this conversation. I'm seeing this being a warm hug, a warm mug of tea, just soul soother that will align us, that
Mm.
will orient us, that will allow us to expand into this season, but also
Mhm.
this calling, this purpose that we have on our lives in being in this planet, in this point of time, and connected through energy and through this podcast and through this conversation. So thank you all for being
Mm.
here. Thank you, Anika Apple, for joining us today. If you don't know
Mm.
Anika Apple,
Ah,
let me tell you
such a
about
gift.
Anika Apple. I'm going to start with her bio, but then we're going to get into who she really is, and then you'll get to
Mhm.
experience her. So, Anika Apple is a trusted advisor. She is an author, a speaker, a transformational strategist who supports high achieving leaders in reconnecting with their truth, redefining success, and creating lives of purpose, alignment, and lasting impact. Drawing on more than 30 years of executive leadership experience spanning numerous Fortune 500 organizations, she brings a rare combination of business acumen, intuitive wisdom, and deep understanding of human transformation. As the author of Healing is Required, which I have right here, and
Mhm.
the host of the Anika Apple podcast, Anika is known for creating conversations that challenge conventional success and invite leaders to live and lead with greater clarity, courage, and authenticity. Whether advising executives, speaking from the stage, or guiding personal transformation, her work equips people to make aligned decisions that elevate both their leadership and their lives. Whew, that's
Mm.
beautiful.
Mm.
And I'm going to add a few things. Anika is an energy shifter.
Mm.
Anika is one of those friends who is a deep well. She listens and hears from and can be a mouthpiece for the divine like no one else. Like, I know a lot of connected people. I know a lot of earth angels. Her gifts are so expansive, they're so immense, and being in her presence makes others just exhale. The energy she brings to any room expands it. It illuminates the light within us. And I am grateful that she is here to spend time with us today and to share her wisdom. So, Anika, thank you for being here.
Welcome.
Oh, you're on. Oh, we can't hear you.
Thank you for having me. And, for having my mascara start to run down my face. I appreciate you so much. Thank you both for having me. And it's always good to spend time with you too.
Yes, two of my favorite people. I love that, Kailei, what you said about in Anika's presence, you can take a deep exhale. That is just what a
Is that
gift.
true?
It's so true. So true. I love that.
Yeah.
That's what she is. You can release. Yeah.
No pretense.
Mm-mm.
No, let me
None
put
of
on the
that.
facade.
None of
Come
that.
on
Oh,
in. Come on in.
yes.
It's so funny, Kailei and Myra. This morning, I was like, what is it that I want to bring today? And I was like, I want to feel like have a cup of tea with Anika. And then that's what you said.
Wow.
Oh,
It's
Wow.
literally, I was standing in my class and I was like, I just wanted to feel like we're just sitting having a cup of tea together and just,
come
doing
on.
what we do.
Come on. Come on. It's
I
just
love
too
it. What
much
kind? I
synchronicity.
know. And what kind of tea are we drinking today, Anika?
So I will be having a cup of cacao because
Ooh.
I have been not even lightweight obsessed, like full on obsessed with cacao. I bought some right before we went to the Beyonding retreat and having it every day when we were in Costa Rica. I just like sometimes I will have other teas, but for the most part, I miss having it. And I sit with my mug in my hand and I say to myself, today, I'm opening my heart to be of service. And I sip my cacao.
Cool. So let's start there. I mean, when we were at the Beyonding retreat, we did for everybody to know we did a cacao ceremony and or experienced a cacao ceremony, which was so beautiful. For those who are not familiar with the medicinal benefits and what cacao represents and what it does, can you talk a little bit about the medicine of cacao?
It is sacred. And I think that so there are lots of benefits, and especially what happens in our circulatory system. But I think what is so powerful is that it reminds us that we are not the first that traveled through this path, this time in life. Like embracing cacao for me reminds me of our indigenous ancestors and how they created medicine from the earth.
Yeah.
And whatever it was that they needed, they were guided and led. Like even the tea blends that we use today, they're connected through things that our ancestors explored. And how did they get that wisdom? How did they know those things were working? It was the medicine person, right, who was a part of those communities that was being led divinely. And we have that, right? So for me, I feel like the moment of enjoying cacao is reminding me to reconnect to my body, to reconnect to my soul and spirit, to reconnect to the ancestors and to the divine wisdom that sits on the inside of us. We all have that, right? Yeah, so that is it. And then the opportunity to create an intention, I think for me was so profound as we were going through the experience. My intention was to be free and let the experience hold me, to allow
Mm.
myself to be in that sacred ceremony and just allow myself to be held, which is not always the way. Like, sometimes it's the opposite. It's like I want to hold everybody else, but I forget to allow myself to be held. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was so
Yes.
powerful, such a huge awakening and remembrance, and a
Mm.
remembrance.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love that you mentioned. Oh, go ahead, Myra.
No, I'll let you finish your thought.
I was going to say that you mentioned that when you sit with it in the morning, that you ask for it to open up your heart, and I know that cacao is considered a natural heart opener,
Mm,
and so that's beautiful. Somebody mentioned that, and I think maybe even at our retreat property in Costa Rica that we were at the last 2 Decembers, they mentioned how cacao is the maternal version of coffee. Like the coffee bean is like the masculine, and the cacao bean is more like the feminine. It's the
Ooh.
slower, rise, versus the coffee bean is like, "Yeah," right? And it's so interesting too, because about I don't know, a year or two ago, I had this awareness about how the commoditization of sacred beverages, like
Mm.
just this idea that things like coffee and cacao and tea, these were sacred ceremonies that have been
Mhm.
commoditized. And now it's like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to drink, 3 cups
Yeah,
of coffee today and pick it up from Starbucks, and
yeah,
we're
and add all these
rushing.
sugars and
Yes,
yes,
yes, hot
flavors and
chocolate. We're just gonna take the chocolate and just
mhm.
put a bunch of sugar and milk and drink it for recreation, or tea, just
Yeah.
have it, when they were meant to be slowing mechanisms for us to be in ceremony with ourselves and each other.
yeah.
And
It
whew,
Kylie, it just reminded me, and sorry to cut you off, but like
no, go
in
ahead.
other countries, the concept of taking coffee to go is foreign.
Oh,
Like
yes.
I
Like,
went
why
over,
would you ever do
yeah, why
that?
would you want this to go?
Mhm.
I think I was either in Spain or France and I was getting a coffee to go and it wasn't even a concept at the cafe I was at. They were like, "We don't have to go cups. What do you mean? You sit and you drink it and you take your time and you slow down."
Mhm.
And that concept was just foreign, where in America we're like, "To go. Like, give me all the sugar and I want it to go." And it's like you said, it's recreation. It's not a sacred ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I would add to that, even water. Like, we are
Mm.
gulping water, multitasking, and we're missing all of what it has available to us, right? Like, water is energy. It has a
Mhm.
frequency, and, there are people who hold their water each morning and have, like, I don't know if they call it a water ceremony or whatever, but I set intentions with my water.
Mm.
And it could be as
Mm.
simple as, like, as I drink this, I want it to fully hydrate my body and cleanse any, impurifications, right? Like, to really ask the water to penetrate all of the cells and to bring my body back to its most optimal state for that day. It could
Mm.
be around clearing your mind. Like, we just miss all of these opportunities to really put intention around the things we eat, we drink, how we spend our time, what we want out of our conversations, what we want to be happening in our businesses. It's available to us.
Mm. Yeah. This idea of ritual, which you mentioned, even just your morning routines, and I know you're a journaler and things like that. Like the idea of ritual and sacred ritual, I wonder how that has impacted you even being able to connect to this divine, right? Like, how has that impacted you writing a book, even? Like,
Mm.
what is the connection between how your ritual and your slowing down and your sacred ceremonies impact your ability to hear and write this book?
Well, let me tell you, my mentor, Kylie Carr, um, introduced me to the claim meditation several years
Mm,
ago. And I really think that in the last, like since 2020, 2019, it was probably 2018, 2019, but that's where it began for me.
yeah.
And she also introduced me to Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which was a life-changing moment for me. Like that book in the midst of all of the life changes that I had happening in 2020, which for me was also a time where my relationship with God that had always been there, it just exploded exponentially in so
Yeah.
many ways. And so, this thing about having your morning, like setting your morning for you is so important. I know the difference when I haven't journaled, if I haven't prayed, if I haven't meditated.
Mm.
And Myra, to answer your question, in the beginning of this year, I started with 40 days of not having any conversation before 12 o'clock. It didn't matter. You could text me, you won't get a response back until 12. No calls, no nothing, no
What?
nothing. From the time when I wake up in the morning, and in most days that was 6 because, kids
Mm,
going to school and stuff. And I spent that time journaling, praying, meditating, qigong or yoga, and
mm,
really
mm,
listening to God.
mm, mm,
And has set the stage for what's happened through the rest of this year. And in terms of the book, it was divinely given to me by God. Even my own stories that are in Healing is Required, they're stories that God was like, tell them this. And I was like, nope, I don't want to talk about that. And God's like,
mm.
tell them that. I'm like, nope. And they're in the book. So you know who won. Um, but to be able to be the vessel that God chose to deliver this work through, which really is a blueprint for us on how to heal. And that healing is the doorway, the pathway to success in every single area of your life, every.
Mm. Did we lose Anika?
I think she's frozen on my end.
Relationship, what you do, your relationship.
There we go.
Too much frequency.
Ah, yes.
Too much
Yes.
frequency.
Too much.
Turn it down
Yes.
just a little bit. But in terms of the book, as the vessel that God selected to bring this work into the world, in order for me to feel confident that what I was writing, I had to be diligent to ensure that I was clearing myself and creating
Mm,
space to really hear. And there were some moments like writing where I was like, is that really true? Like, I've never
mm,
heard of this before. And I would look up a term or a particular situation that I was being shown, and
mm,
there it was. And I was like, wow, like I had the experience of just feeling blown away by how God moves through us when we will just open ourselves up to be present for what God is sharing. And
mm,
so, yeah, that
mm,
the practices are so supportive to create what it is that you want, but also to begin to really unpack your relationship to trusting yourselves. So for me, like
mm,
the morning ritual is a part of my self trust, and it is a way for me to see the impact that I'm having in my life and the life of those around me and in the world.
mm,
Ooh, so good. So good.
mhm.
I am um, beyond honored to have written the forward for
Yes.
Healing is Required, and like such an honor, such an
I'm
honor. So publicly, thank you for trusting me with that.
Thank you.
I Hmm. I would love to go back to something that you just said about some of the things that were divinely revealed to you as you were writing or really channeling this beautiful book. Can you give us an example of something that you were like, "Oh, I need to look that up.
There were a couple statistics around things that happened with COVID that I was like, is that
Mm.
really true? And I was like, oh my gosh, blown away.
Wow.
Probably the biggest was the concept of the central soul. And you find in this time, it's rare in my experience that there's terminology that hasn't been somehow used somewhere by someone, right? So
Yeah.
that's like showing me the central soul. I was like, this has to exist. Like somebody has to have already written about this or whatever. It was nowhere.
Wow.
And it's the heart of us understanding how we are all connected. Like this is God's architecture of who we are in the earth, that we have a central soul
Mm.
that all of humanity is connected to, and we are constantly impacting it and shifting the balance of it by who we are being. So
Yeah.
if we are doing our healing work, we're shifting the central soul to be more healed. If we are not doing our healing work, it's not. And then that represents the experience that we're having in the earth. But who knew?
Wow.
Mm.
And as you say it, it's like, oh, it's so resonant in my spirit. Like, yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It is what's so. It is what's so.
What do you wish, Anika, like more people knew? Like, these concepts in the book are just powerful, right? I really truly consider it a blueprint for just humanity that everyone should read. And is there anything that comes to mind that you're like, man, if they only got or understood one concept or one lesson, or, I wish humanity, more people knew about this or were talking about this?
I wish that more people were talking about what love really is.
Mm.
Mm.
And we have the ability to water down things.
Yeah.
Love becomes the thing that people express only in a romantic relationship,
Mm.
or perhaps they only say it to their kids or to their siblings. It's almost, we treat love like it's scarce,
Mm.
like we don't have more than enough, and we can't hold it for people who may not love us in return or have gotten to a place where they love us yet.
Yeah.
It is the most abundant thing there is, and it is what is at the center of healing. And if it's at the center of healing, it means that it's impacting every single area of our lives all the time. So I wish people had real conversations with themselves about what's in the way of them feeling free to just express love. I wish that people had conversations about how love impacted their businesses, how it
Mm.
impacted the shifts that they created in community. Do we think people like Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as an example, led from a place of love? Did he show up and exhibit love to the people who were actively trying to tear him and the organization apart? Like, of
Mm.
course he did. You can hear his words, posthumously, and know that he was standing in a place of just pure love. And so there is something about how we treat this, as if I can give it to Kylie and Myra because those are my girls and my sisters. But to this person who has a very different political view or feels differently, or perhaps even treats me in a way like I am less than, that I
Mm.
don't have the capacity to still offer love to them, I can absolutely do that. That's about my humanity, not theirs.
Mm.
So we forget that for everything that we put out in the world, there is a return, because that is one of the laws that exists. And so we get to choose what we want to put out in the world and what we want to receive. And when we restrict ourselves from sharing love so broadly like that, then we create a world that has the kind of challenges that we live in today.
Mm.
Ooh,
So
so
true.
good. That's so true. Yeah. You were
Yeah.
talking like even the idea of restricting, like what's the opposite of that? It's like openness, right? And
Mhm.
freedom. And
Mm.
you talked about trust and this idea of love and, what that unleashes. And it reminded me of something I was reflecting on earlier this week about even roles that I've had where the organization or my leader gave me space and really trusted me to do my job, right? To
Mhm.
do and really create and own it from, without the restriction.
Mm.
And yes, there may be, there's a job description and I have objectives and everything like that. But the how is something that they gave me free reign to do. And when I have been in those roles and have had those opportunities, and I could even say as a business owner, being able to create without those restrictions, it has been transformative.
Mm.
And because I believe love was underneath that. We may not have even known each other for very long, but there is an emotional connection and trust.
Yes.
And what
Mm.
could happen if more of us operated from that place?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I've recently been exploring the word affinity, and it came up as a part of a program that I'm a part of. And that word can exist where this feeling of love feels too complex for someone, right? So you can have
Mhm.
affinity for someone, even if you don't feel like feel free or ready, or you want to express that how love makes you feel, or how you define it. Affinity can be present, and we have a choice to have that for people. We have a choice.
Yeah.
yeah.
It is a choice. I think about we talked about creation, and I wonder how those two are connected, right? Like we were earlier before we started just talking about this idea of expanding our wings and opening up and creating. And when I think about those types of words, when I think about creation, when I think about love, when I think about openness, it is expansive, right? It is this idea of abundance. But the opposite of that gives me almost just this image of like protecting myself, of like, any past fears that have hurt me, like I have to guard or brace or protect myself. And so there's this kind of like closed, small, shrinking idea versus love feels expansive.
Mhm.
And, I wonder what's the way to get to this place of love and open expansion if you have been hurt by the past. If you have, you know, I've got some really good examples of a reason why I need to protect myself because this
Mhm.
and this and this happened. Like I've got all the evidence, Anika. Like I know I should protect myself because if I don't, there is an option of me getting hurt again. So maybe it feels safer because I know there's options of being hurt. Like
Mhm.
how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so it's safe to
Mm.
be small, sure.
Mm.
So I heard the other day, like having like it's like having a dragon in a tadpole cage or container.
Mhm.
Like think about that, right? Like you have the ability to be this big, huge presence, and you just decide to just keep yourself small because
Mm.
that's what safe looks like.
Mm.
Um, there's something here for us to explore around our own depth of self-acceptance and love, because that's really the thing that shows up for us. We will point to the places where we have been hurt, where we have been disappointed, felt rejected. I know I have in my life's journey, but those were just experiences that supported some belief that I already was holding about myself. So we all have an impetus.
Ooh.
we, we, we have an impetus, right? There's something that happened in our lives that made us say, we are this way. We are, this is who we are, right? I can remember, 'cause I have in my journey of doing this work, I've gone back to some
Mm.
occasions where, there's one very, very poignant one where some friends of my parents were saying children should be seen and not heard, but that's not the way that
Mm.
they were raising me. And I found that conflict to be really troublesome because here was this person being like, you don't have anything to add and you shouldn't be here. I was really young, probably like 4 or 5 years old, but it impacted me. So
Mm.
it's like my words aren't like, I have nothing to offer. My words aren't important. So here you have someone who was born an orator. Like that is who God created me
Right?
to be, having this friction with, if I go to speak, are people going to reject what I say? Are they judging what I say? I'm not good enough because I can't even sit on this patio with my parents and these friends while they have a conversation because I won't have anything additive to say.
Mm.
And even though, we all might be like, well, you were 4 or 5, I knew who I was.
Yes.
Mm.
I was closest than anything except, the years 1 through 3 to who God created me to be.
Yeah.
I was clear. I hadn't been like battered and bruised by the experiences, the learnings that I came here to gather in this life's journey. And so we all have versions of that where the things that happen, we're then collecting evidence about it and we don't allow ourselves to feel free
Mm.
because they're just convincing us that the story that we told about ourselves is true. That's actually how the brain works, right? We know this. And so there's something that happens
Mm.
when we decide to take the journey within ourselves to recreate those stories, to let
Mm.
go of the thing, that meaning, and then we have more space for love. When you accept
Ooh.
yourself, right? I accept that I've made choices based on the stories that I've collected across my lifetime. I can make the decision that I'm not going to hold myself as responsible for that. Like there's not hurt and harm attached to that any longer. They're just experiences. And one thing that I would offer for everyone is there's a very simple way for us to begin to look at the experiences that we have in life. I'm not saying that things won't hurt, that you might not be disappointed or any of that. But I recognize as I look at Kylie and Myra, who are two really important people in my life, that they are here as a part of my experience to teach me, to help share stories with me, to help me see myself, to learn things. Some of those things will be excuse me, wonderful and, glorious, right?
Mhm.
Occasions that we'll remember, like our retreats and things like that. And some maybe moments where we're holding each other's hands through grief or loss or disappointment. I might even say or do something that hurts them. And yet we get to see each other as like recognizing that the things that happen are for our good, for our growth. It's a
Mm.
very different way of looking at life. And so when you talk about like moving from that restriction to that openness of love, being able to see and recognize, oh, this person was in my life because this is a lesson I needed in order for me to become who it is that I came here to be anyway.
Mm.
What if it's just simply their assignment? What if it's just simply a lesson that is here for me so that I can become who God has created me to be? When we see things like that, we can take away some of the sting. We can let go of some of the stigma of those stories and trust that we're on path. Trust that
Mm.
this is who we were created to be and that we needed those things in order to have the point of view, the experience, and the connectedness that we will have with the people we're called to, so
Mm.
that we share those things and they understand and know who they are as well.
Mm. Love it.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I
Mhm.
know that right now there are a lot of people who are struggling, a
Yeah.
lot of people who are suffering, whether it's they've
Mhm.
lost their job and or everything that they knew, and they're letting go of a future that they had imagined for themselves, or maybe they're going through some health challenges or
Mm.
significant discomfort and pain
Mhm.
or grief
Mhm.
from losing parents or whomever. What would you say to those people in this moment?
Yeah. First and foremost, I would say lean in right now, open your heart and receive all of the healing, love, and energy that the three of us are pouring to you
Mm.
right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like to allow yourself to be open to know you are seen and you are known. You are not forgotten. And there's something here for you in this moment, a transformation that can begin if you allow yourself to feel what it feels like to be seen, to remember that you're not alone. So I would start with just opening to be on the receiving end of the love that we're sending to you. And then I think the other thing is that it makes sense. We've been through so many things in our lives. It's easy to see how we can have forgotten the things that we knew before we came, right? And yet we have the capacity to create the life that we want at any time. There's simply choices and decisions that we can make. We are made by our creator. We have creation energy within us. Myra, you mentioned that earlier.
Mhm.
And you have the ability to create a life as big and as wonderful as you like. It's going to cost something. You'll have to give up some of the
Mm.
choices and decisions that you have made perhaps as a result of, maybe like me, you didn't even realize you were making some decisions and choices that created limitations for you.
Mm.
But you have the ability to envision it and then create it. You don't have to be in a small box. You can allow yourself to get out of the tadpole case, whatever it's whatever it's called.
Mhm.
You can come out of that and allow yourself to fully be. Sometimes I find that with the people I work with, and that there is this dynamic of like, I've gotten to a certain place in life, and what I've done is what I need to continue to do. And I don't believe that to be so. When you check in with your
Mm.
heart and you know that there's something else that you really desire to do, and particularly for those who might be finding themselves in the midst of like pivot, having lost jobs and industries changing and things like that, sometimes we're so attached to what we've had. And it's like, we've had this experience, we've had this success. I need to keep doing this thing. But what if that thing was intended to be the springboard for what's next? And we are in a time, a moment in the world where the world looks like it's constricting, but God is like, but watch me, but watch me. Because God, who already created the plan with you before you came and is like, there's infinite possibilities that exist. It's like, tap into me, to your divine wisdom, to what is the calling of your soul, and trust that whatever you found success in before can be grown exponentially when you're doing the thing that you were purposed and created to do. Why do we think that we could be successful doing things that are not even fully in our purpose, but yet that our purpose would somehow, like if we were to lean to living into that in whatever way is aligned with us, that we wouldn't be successful in that?
Mm.
It's such an interesting thought. And so I find that I have a lot of these conversations. And then the other part that comes up often is, I get it, Anika. Like, I do want to live over here and do more things connected to my purpose. Maybe it's something I'm building, maybe it's in my career. But what about what I already built? Who says you have to have a zero sum game? Like, you can't protect what you've already built. Let's look at what protecting that looks like. How
Mm.
do you protect your legacy that you've already created? I don't know. Perhaps you build a really great succession plan.
Mm.
Maybe there's some ways where you build a foundation for whatever you're building towards that has enough infrastructure that you have the ability to do multiple things. There's so many different ways that we can create, and we just allow ourselves to feel limited because we get so attached to what the world around us is saying. Listen to what your heart is saying. Listen to what your intuitiveness is saying. Listen to what's coming through. What is God continuing to show you repeatedly? What are the words that you keep hearing over and over again that you pick out of sentences and in movies and when you're reading things and when you're scrolling? Like, the messages are all around you, and they're trying to encourage you to say yes, spread your wings, and build the life you actually really want to live. That's what I
God.
would say to them.
Yes.
I've said it.
Oh, and I heard it. I heard it. It feels like a part of what you're describing is this idea of intuition, right? Like the things you hear over and over, the knowings that we have, the things that you maybe feel called to, that feeling in your gut, like sometimes people may not even recognize that they have intuition. And I believe we all have it. Maybe we don't nurture it. Maybe we don't listen to it. Maybe sometimes it's blocked by something. But it sounds like you're describing this innate power that we all have access to, and maybe we don't access it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what intuition is for those that may not know and may not be accessing it?
100%. And it can live under so many different names, right? But I will describe it as this. If we go back to the conversation of what I knew when I was 4, I wasn't born and someone said to me in language, Anika, you're an orator. But yet I knew who I was. I would stand at the, foot of my bed with all of my stuffed animals and talk to them. I would be like, like a mayor, like having this conversation with all the whole Barbie community. Hear ye, hear ye. This is what we are going to do next, right? I mean, we know the answers are so often really clear in childhood. What did we love to do? Who were we? And so even at that point, no one might have said the word intuition to me. So let's just simplify it as your knowing. There are things that you know in your soul. And when those stories get created, it becomes really difficult for us to trust ourselves. Because perhaps that's what life's journey is. To reconnect with self, with the divine, and find ways to have an expression of love that gets shared in the world. You think of a musician, somebody who always wanted to play an instrument, and maybe they did throughout like their whole childhood, and they wanted to do that as their career, and they couldn't find a way to do it, and they're depressed and down. And all of a sudden somebody's like, I heard you can play guitar. Why don't you come play with our band? And the music that they play is like a salve to the soul, because they're doing it from a place of freedom and being who they are. And they don't even realize that the part that they add to music is healing for the world. That's what each and every one of us have, our own way that we get to be an expression of a gift that was given to us from the divine to share with the world. And so this piece around intuition, self-trust, we can call it different things, but it is about connection to the divine, to self, and to humanity. We complete that connection when there is this beautiful cycle that is going from the divine to us out into the world. And so when we're stopping it with us, that thing hasn't fulfilled what it came here to do yet.
Ooh.
Ooh. I mean, and you are a seer. You are a seer. When I think about intuition, you are so tapped in. And you also do your monthly divine guidance messages. And so for those who have not listened to those, find Anika Apple on YouTube and
Always
yes,
on
it's
point.
right. Always on point, always and in all ways. So
Mm,
what do you think, what is the divine guidance sharing in terms of what we all need to be tapped into right now? Like what is this particular moment, because it feels like a particular moment.
yes.
What is this particular moment calling us toward?
Mm,
This particular moment is calling us to recognize who we are, to
mm,
be so clear about identity. And that identity is not about title and role, it is about who you are at your core. Your identity gives way to understand your purpose. So your mission, your assignment, however you want to encapsulate that. But it is so important that you know who you are. And part of knowing who you are taps back into the second thing I would say, which is that there's always hope.
mm,
Hmm.
And we are in a moment where if you allow yourself to be caught up in all of the things outside of yourself, you could come up with hundreds of reasons to not feel hopeful. But the absence of that hope is like you looking at the incredible creation that you are and saying, well, I don't exist. Because
Hmm.
how could we be, and you can have your opinions on creation. I'm just going to say for mine, I just believe that we were created by a creator and made from the same things as the stars in the sky. And if they are
mm,
possible and we are possible, then everything is possible. So it's an opportunity for us to recognize that what's happening in the world is a backdrop for the miracles that we are. And so,
mm,
what do we want to create? Instead of constricting, this is a time of expansion, particularly for those who are listening to and hearing this message. And if we want to
mm.
shift in the world, it won't get there by us dimming our lights. We will have to choose to be bigger and bolder and more broad. We will have to choose to bring creation and idea to life. We will have to choose to go back and look in our old journals and breathe life into the visions that we had years and decades ago. We've been building all of the things that we need for this moment, and it's here. And the other thing that I would say to you is like, listen, I'm not sponsored by Garden. I should be, but get your own indoor garden system. Grow some vegetables. Have an
Mm,
understanding of how you can create, care for, and nurture yourself and your family in a way that's healthy. The
mm,
amount of recalls that are coming up, I'll tell y'all, I did say it. Not because I desired it to be so, but because God told
mm.
me to tell people,
I
like,
mean,
listen,
years ago,
years ago,
Yeah.
pause for a moment. Years ago, you said we need to be growing our own food because there's
Mhm.
a lot of food contamination coming down the line. You said that
Mm.
years ago. I
yeah,
feel like it was in a moment where we were still wearing masks.
Wow.
correct, correct. And now we've had egg recalls and chicken and like you're seeing
And the
blueberries.
healthy stuff, greens and spinach and
Right,
kale.
blueberries and yes.
And literally, I'm like, I can live with a lot of things, but like to not have salad, so to be able to walk
Come
over
on.
to my little garden and cut my spinach and have my lettuce and have
Yeah.
tomatoes growing outside, like we came from our indigenous families had villages where people took care of one another. So to build community and whatever you're building, most of you who are building something singularly right now are likely finding that you're hitting some walls. And that makes
Mm.
sense because you're not supposed to build by yourself. And if you want to know how I know, it's because I know. Because I'm at the wall myself, right? So, like, we have to come into community. That is really important. And the last thing that I'm hearing in this moment, God is telling us, okay, so I see these people and they're waltzing. You might not waltz, I don't know how to waltz, but waltzing. God is saying, like, right now, like, you need to dance. You need to stir up
Ooh.
the energy on the inside of you. You need to celebrate in this moment. Whatever it is that the world is telling you that you should be worried and contracting and all of that stuff, you need to do the opposite, because your energy and your attention, the frequency that you are changes when you're in modes of celebration. Kailei is an expert in this space, by the way, and can tell you all about it. Like, you have to change and shift in this moment to create the expansive energy that you need to combat what is happening in the world. So while we're in a point, so many of our communities are, feeling so heavy because we're looking at how much has happened to so many people, I'll remind you that our ancestors were joyful even when their fingers were pricked and they were bleeding, even when their hands were calloused from the they still found time to quietly, protectively celebrate with one another, because they knew a greater truth. They knew that the day was coming. They believed it to be so. And then some dared to create it to be so. They didn't decide that they were defeated before the end of the game. What basketball team have you ever seen sit down on the court with 2 minutes left? It doesn't happen. They're going to play until the buzzer, and we are called to do the same thing with the recognition that the gifts that God has already given us are the very things that we need to win. There's no power greater than that which resides on the inside of us. So if we would just allow ourselves to create, to be in community, to extend our love, like, there's nothing more powerful than that. That's it.
Anika, oh my God.
That's it. We can decide that this is a desperate moment or not.
Right.
We can come together. We can pray together. We can build bridges through communities, across religions, across cultures and ethnicities and races. Like, we have the ability to decide how this thing goes.
Yes.
And I'm only getting started. I'm done.
Mm.
I am not sitting on the court with the ball, like holding on to the ball, like, well, if I can't win, nobody's going to play. Nope. Born on the same day as Michael Jordan. So I'm just saying.
Oh,
Listen.
Just saying.
Anika, it hit me, and I got so much clarity, because I've been in this place where my thoughts are, man, if this didn't happen, I would be here by now. Or if this external situation or condition didn't occur, I could do this, or this would be. And it's almost like these things had to happen for me to recognize who I am.
yes.
If I didn't have the conflicts, if I wasn't having those things occur, I wouldn't see and recognize and really, really have to tap into who I am, who I'm called to be. Like this idea you said, that this moment is the backdrop for us to step into our power, for us to recognize who we are. This is the moment. And if we don't use it as that, we're going to miss the moment.
Yeah.
But it is.
That's on us.
It's on us. It's showing us the strength and the power that we have. And if we didn't have the moment, we wouldn't be able to see the expansion of our power and to really, really know the depth of it.
Yes.
So clear. That was so clear.
So good. I know that we are.
I was just saying, how could you know if you didn't have the opportunity to see it? The backdrop of what's happening in the world is the opportunity. People talk all the time like, well, when you turn up the fire, then you can see who you really are. Well,
yep. And it's the external conditions aren't the problem. Like that just hit me so clear. Like all the things that are going on around me, it's not someone else's fault. I am not where I am, or I'm not, depowered because of someone else's situation or things that are happening to me, right? It takes me out of this victim mode into this mode of power.
Yes. I know that we need to close, but before we do, I'll give a two-parter.
Yeah.
One is, how can people actually, I'll start with the other one. One is growth work. So at the end of every episode, we ask our guests to share one thing people can do over the next week or so that will allow them to integrate some of what we talked about today. So that's part one. And part two is how can people work with you? Because I know that you have something coming up. We know that you have something coming up, and we want to make sure that the good people, the earth angels who are listening, know about it.
Yeah. So, first of all, I would say for growth work, quiet time every day. Find 20 minutes and come with no other intention other than I want to open my heart and to be of service.
Yeah.
And just sit with that and allow whatever to come up. And because we talked about self-trust earlier, I want to encourage you to see what you see, to allow what you hear to come through, that if there's a scent, if there's a feeling, to just notice what you notice. Make this about you, first coming to serve and then being able to recognize your gifts in perhaps a new way or a way that deepens to what you've known it to be so in the past. So that's definitely what I would say. And then in terms of working with me, so there are a few different offerings that I have in my business. I do one-on-one identity revelation where God really just speaks through me for the person to confirm the things that they have questions about around who they are, and that is called Crowned. I also do some divine guidance sessions. You can find those on my website as well. But what I'm most excited about is my Your Remarkable Life Accelerator. And it is created for the woman who has already built something so incredible. And she recognizes that she's called to something different in this moment. So she's pivoting in, one of many ways and wants to actually build life architecture around what that change and transformation will be. And so I'm doing one-on-one sessions now because it is a sacred container for 6 months of work that we do to build the roadmap, to identify the agreements that have perhaps been in the way of you being able to truly trust yourself and to go through with the decision that you've already made. Because that's what mostly happens, right? We decide we want the thing, but then we talk ourselves out of it because we think people are going to be upset. We need to protect this and all of that. And the truth is, it really is just about you giving yourself permission to say yes to you, like you say yes to everybody else. And so that's the Your Remarkable Life Accelerator. And we kick off at the end of September.
Exciting.
So great.
Yeah.
So we will give our links. We will include the links in the notes of this episode so people can connect with you and they can register for the Your Remarkable Life Accelerator.
Love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And I love what the two of you have been creating for Beyonding. Thank you for being a stand for all of us to be our highest selves.
You're so welcome. And it's
Thank you.
like the pleasure's all on this side.
Yes.
Thank you. And it was so good. Again, I was taking notes. I just have so much to
So good.
really digest. So we appreciate you.
Thank you
I
so
appreciate you all as
much.
well.
The frequency of your voice just resonates in the spirit deeply. So thank you, my sister. And thank you everybody for joining us.
This is Beyonding.
This is Beyonding. Be well, everybody.
Be well.
Missed.